believe what saved me in that moment, because he's just like, he did what he did, and he's like, like this,
And like he's gonna
you know,
strike you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this lady, like, in this building, I guess she hears me like
Mhm.
yelling, and she like comes to her window and she's yelling like, "I'm calling the police,"
Right.
and yelling. So her yelling like caused other people to come, and he just fled. And I ran back to my cousin's house and let him know, like, I just was attacked. This is what happened.
Right. Man,
So
I know that was a very scary place, to be in.
yeah,
And you came through it, and you're alive today. A lot of people don't
yeah,
live that. A lot of people, aren't fortunate to, be able to tell that story.
right,
Especially, you know, big city areas, where there's a lot of like crime, and
hmm,
it's a blessing. It's a blessing, Lord,
right,
that you are, able to be here and tell your story. So, you're dealing with things in your own way. We have this seesaw of emotions. When things get good, they don't stay good for a long period of time, until they get back bad again. So you have this up and down in life, and then, you know, your second marriage, it comes about. Tell us, like, how, did you get there to a place where you were like, okay, I'm ready to love again, like, I'm dealing with my shit, I'm ready to love again.
okay. So that came about. It was 2015. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
2015. 2015, my dad passed away, and I left North Carolina to come to New Jersey to bury my dad, and I just was, a little lost, a little hurt, because me and my dad hadn't spoken for years, and we had a big fallout, and 2 weeks before he died, we finally patched it up, and he was going to come to North Carolina and try to put our family back together. So I go to New Jersey, and to bury my dad, and in that I in that grief, I started started I started hanging out again with the wrong people, and they introduced me to meth, crystal meth, and I start using crystal meth, and got lost in that scene, because that's a whole nother like scene that's unbelievable, and a lot of people don't know about or even know that it's there. But
Right.
it's just a lot of you know it's just a huge sex scene within the gay community. Like, they just meet up and getting high off meth, shooting up meth, and just sex like all the time. So after finding that in New Jersey, like, got lost in that for a few months and got really sick because of it, and ended up again calling my mom and my sister.
Yeah.
I need help. Like, I'm really sick, and I was so skinny, probably probably like 150 pounds,
Mm.
um, compared to my 210 usual.
Yeah.
And they paid for me to come home, and coming home, I still was using meth, and upon Adam for Adam and Jack just looking for people to get high with, and do what we do.
Right.
I came across someone who, he was really really pretty and really witty, and I was like, okay, like, let's meet up, like, and he came over, and it just was like, I don't know, like, we just, like, we felt it. We felt that connection. And I was like, is this the drug, or like, what is it? Because we just was meshing so good, like
Right.
conversation, the music, like, you know, just listening to disco and Diana Ross and, just having a
Right.
great time.
Being able
Just
to relate. So
really,
this person that you met, were they already using,
they were already using,
okay.
and so yeah, that's what we did, and it was great. We spent a whole week together. Like it was supposed to have been a one night stand,
Hmm.
and we ended up spending the whole week together,
Right.
and it was awesome. Because we were high and our minds were altered. Like there were a few moments where like it was sketchy.
Hmm.
Like, and if we hadn't made that connection, like we would have fought. But I was like, okay, but the week ended, and I dropped him off and came back home, and I was talked to my best friend Crystal, and I'm dang, like I really like this kid, I really like this guy, and you
Hmm.
know, at the time he was homeless and kind of bouncing around, and I was stable, I had somewhere to live, I had a good job, and I'm just telling my friend, like, I feel like I should help him.
Right.
Like, even if it's not a relationship, like, I just feel like I need to help him. Like, it's just something. I just felt that. And, we kept I kept talking and communicating, like, would, give him money to help him out. And he's just telling me his story. Like, he was out, on the outs with his family, just giving me his rundown. And like she and my friend just was like, Robert, like, you want to help him? Like, we have an extra room in the back. Like,
Hmm.
if he wants to come here, he can come. And I was like, yeah, like, I think I want to do it.
Right.
And yeah, I offered, I invited him over for Thanksgiving. He didn't come because he was running around. But probably like 2 weeks later, I made him another offer. Like, you don't have to bounce around. Like, we can help you. And he ended up like accepting. But he came in, and that was horrible. It was bad, and because we just we're getting high again, like, and we just started like it just started arguing and fighting, and my friend ended up like he has to go,
Hmm.
and at this point, like we're like somewhat in the beginning of like the dating stage. Like
Hmm.
we just agreed, like, okay, like, let's try it. So he ended up, getting kicked out, and I was like, well, if he go, I'm going.
Right.
And, you know, called my mother, like who does not allow it in her house.
Right. When you say it,
Like,
you mean like the homosexual the relationship itself.
yeah, the relationship itself. She
Hmm.
does not like, you're not bringing them spirits in my house.
Right.
Like, before you step in here, let me anoint your head and
Okay.
pray for
Right.
you.
Mama
So
ain't playing them games.
she's
I'm
not
rebuking
playing.
them demons at the door.
Yeah, not bringing that in my house. So I really wasn't expecting her to say yes. But
Okay.
she said yes. Like, yeah, come here. I was working on an apartment in Salisbury for us. Y'all come here. And like it just, more drugs, and, we started arguing a lot.
Mhm.
We started arguing a lot. And I know it was the drugs. I know it was the crystal meth. And, we started arguing a lot, and, causing a scene in the neighborhood. And
Mhm.
Salisbury. Salisbury.
Mhm. Can be bad,
So,
yeah. When you start coming out, it's
so
time to go.
right. So, she lives in a neighborhood. We were the only black family, so it was really causing a lot of attention, and we're already the only black family in this neighborhood. And like we just started arguing, and you know, he hit me in front of my mother, and we start fighting in front of my mother, and she kicked us out,
Right.
and we became homeless together, and still just holding on because of a bond that we feel like we have, or a love that we feel like we have.
Right.
And we stuck it out. We stuck it out for a few years, and ended up getting married in 2018, 2018. We ended up getting a house together. Getting on our feet, getting a house while still using drugs, and like it just was a crazy time, and we didn't trust each other, and and it's because of the drug, because it alters your mind, and you become over like sexual, and the accusations of cheating and stuff like that came along, and honestly just because we were inviting other people in.
Yeah.
So it just was bad. Just we weren't really good for each other.
Yeah.
And my mother would say, like, mirror image, like you're dating yourself. She was like, he's an Aries, you're an Aries. Like, it,
Right.
it just it was bad, but I felt like, I really loved him, and I really wanted it to get better.
Right.
Um, Even offering to go to counseling. Like, if you don't want a psychiatrist, we can find a pastor. Like,
Right.
whatever it is, like let's just fix it. But well, I don't like it. Just it never worked. He didn't want to go to counseling. He really thought, everything he was good, and
Right.
because he was saying he's good, like I looked at myself, like I must be this horrible person, and that messed me up
Yeah.
mentally, because I'm like, how can I treat somebody like this who I love?
Exactly.
And yeah.
So at what point, you've talked about the love that y'all had, and how it was like almost combative, combative, where you guys were, you know, um relying on a specific drug, to kind of help you navigate through your relationship. And at what point, did the marriage, like before it dissolved, were you guys, in a place and you looked at each other and you were like, you know what? This just isn't going to work. Like, we're not going to live through this. We're not going to be okay, you know?
Man, so okay. And it to some people it might sound a little out there and crazy, but this is my life, and this is what happened. I was sitting there, and I heard God tell me to leave, like
Mm.
clear as day. And I told my mother, and she was like, what you gonna do? And I was like, well, Ma, I love him. And she was like, so I told God, no, like I'm not leaving. And
Right.
she was like, my mother was like, do you know like what's about to happen to you? And like, sure enough, like everything started like really crumbling.
Mm.
Um, Probably within 2 weeks, um, he told me, I heard him again, like leave. And but the second time, like because the way everything started happening, like I was working at the country club, making really good money,
Mhm.
uh, able to afford like to live how I want to live, how I was brought up to live,
Right.
and I ended up losing my job. Uh, Ended up getting an eviction letter.
Mm.
Um,
So we're back. We're going back to this place yet again. You know what I mean?
mhm,
I'm pretty sure your mom
mhm.
was, damn, how do I keep ending up back here, you know?
Right. So at this time, I knew why. Um, I knew why, and I chose, to stay and to not listen
Right.
because just growing up, in the church and stuff like that, and having knowledge of Jesus Christ, whether I stepped away and was practicing witchcraft and devil worship, like I knew, and so like everything started crumbling, and we just we started fighting more, and
Mm.
I told him what I heard. I told him, and he was like, pretty much like, oh, so you're gonna choose that over me? And
Mm.
at this point, I'm like, yes, yes, because look at us.
Right.
You, look at us. Like you won't go to counseling. Like you won't change. I want to change. Like I don't want to do this no more. Let's
Right.
go to rehab. Let's go to rehab. We can go to rehab together.
Mm.
Let's do that. And it just was a no. And like just the last day just was crazy because we had an eviction letter. I was going to Ron Helping Ministries to try to get some help.
Right.
and and we agreed like we're gonna go to Ron Helping Ministries, and then you're gonna go to work and I'm gonna go look for a job because now I lost my job.
Right.
And even in that, because I had like it just wasn't controlling. I had got offered a job at Krispy Kreme, just to travel and train people, like at new Krispy Kremes that was opening, and it was really good salary. And he's like, no, you can't do that. So now I have to find a job local where and it just was very controlling. Like I already cut off my friends. I was on and outs with my family. Like it's just me and you. And
Right.
now we're here, and I don't have no one to talk to because I cut everybody off.
Right.
Because
So
you
it's just like we're all in this together. It's just you and we
you
are
and
in a fucked up space. Like, what's
right,
next? You know what I'm saying?
right. So yeah, we're walking over on Helping Ministries, and he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to work, and I'm like, what? Like, let's handle the business. You ain't got to be to work for another 2 hours. Like, what do you mean? Oh, I'm just gonna go clock in. And I'm like, what? Like, it wasn't sitting right to me. And now,
Mm.
mind you, I already said we don't have the cheating allegations. Like, stuff happened, on unfamiliar numbers, calling phones and stuff like that.
Mm.
So, I'm like, we argue a little, and I'm like, you know what, just go. And, I'm just continuing walking to, go do what I said we was going to do. And I just got this intuition in me, like, turn around and see where he's going. And so I went around and met him the other way. And I just called him, like, you know what? Like, we need to talk. Like, you don't have to be to work for another 2 hours. Like, what's going on? And he just was like very nonchalant, brushing me off, like I just was nobody or just no regard.
Yeah.
And like just start yelling and causing a scene in public. And again, this is Salisbury. And we're right there by Walmart. So
Right.
everybody's there. Everybody's there. And just causing a big scene and, just, mush me in my face. Like, and just, cause a big scene. And at that point, something in me just broke. And we just had an
Mm.
all out fight to the point like the cops were called and like just an all out fight. And that was the end. That
Wow.
was the,
That
yeah,
was
that was
so
the,
you're at this place now where it's, marriage number one, and then you're back, with the support of your family. Now it's marriage two, and you're in a different place at this point. Like, drug usage has become a bit more, but you're trying to get the help that you need, that way you can get a leg up on life and be in a better position, and be more, mentally stable and more financially stable. So you're out of this marriage, like, this is it, this is done, you know
Mhm.
where are you now, mentally after this? Did you go to rehab again, or did you,
I did.
rely on your family? Like, how was that afterwards?
I did. So afterwards, it was, it was hard because, we were together for a few years.
Hmm.
And so I just, I become this really broken person. I didn't know who I was, anymore because I was so used to taking care of him and, being pleasing to him and making sure like he had everything he needed in life and vice versa. Like he did the same for me.
Right.
And, like it really caused, I already had a personality disorder. So it just caused like me to shut down
Mm.
and like I didn't care about life. I honestly tried suicide. Um, Lord, I tried to yeah, I tried to jump off of a bridge
Oh man.
because I just couldn't deal. Like, I felt like my soul left and, just dived into drugs even harder. And I was in Charlotte,
And this is in
and it,
Charlotte, North Carolina. For those
yeah,
that
so,
don't know, Charlotte, North Carolina.
and it's this bridge over by Freedom Drive, and the underpath, and I just sat up there on the rails, and when like just before I was about to jump, a man came and pulled me back.
Right. Oh, thank God
So
for that.
yeah, so it was bad. So like I just in Charlotte just really roaming and broken, and I went into another rehab, but within that rehab, it wasn't a good place. The people there just was using drugs and bringing drugs in and stuff like that.
Using
So
it as a,
I
a
left
roof
there.
over their head, right?
Yeah, so I left that place and went to Orlando, and that wasn't good because it's Orlando, Florida.
Right.
So yeah, so at that point, I started roaming, and um, just everywhere, just vagabond, just roaming, like without a care in the world, and got a call from a cousin, and he was in Los Angeles, and come over here, like it's LA, you could change your life, and
Right.
you design clothes and you do this, like it'd be great for you over here. So I listened and I went over there, and that was the absolute worst decision of my life
Mm.
because it's LA, nonstop partying, and
Right.
you know everything's free if you look a certain way. Like you could get in everywhere and you can get
Right.
everything. And you know, at that point, I was a good looking guy. I was in shape, so it was pretty much
What
here's
you want.
Robbie
Right.
here, here's Robbie Moon from the East Coast. Like
Yeah.
so I ended up ah, being honest. I started shooting up meth, and
Mm.
I have the scars here, if you can see.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, and it was really bad, and I ended up losing my place in LA, and became homeless on Skid Row. So yeah, I was homeless on Skid Row, sleeping in a tent, like, you know,
Yeah. It's like
like just
bottom
rock.
fell out of bottom, out of bottom, out of bottom into
Right,
you're like you're here. You're at your
right.
complete like lowest point.
Complete lowest. Ended up like getting beat up by these Crip dudes. Like they really, in South Central. I'm in the wrong place,
Right.
wrong place, and I'm in the '60s. And
Hmm.
if anybody know what the '60s is in LA, like that's Crip territory. Like
Right.
you don't, if you're not paying taxes to be there, like don't be there.
Right.
And so I just ended up like getting beat up really bad, like dude strangling me, trying to kill me. Um, like to the point I woke up like in the middle of this room and they were talking about how to dispose of my body.
Mm.
And like I just at that point, like when I got a chance, I just kept my eyes closed. And when I got the chance, I just dashed for the door
Yeah.
and got out of that. And mind you, this is in the pandemic. COVID just
Oh.
happened. So like everything is shut down. Like the police ain't really rocking with nobody. Like
Hmm.
so in that moment I just called my mom again, like mom. And mind you, she had been calling me for months. Like, son, just come home.
Right.
Like you don't have to do this. Somebody had took a picture of me and my family seen it. And I was really bad, extremely skinny, just sunken in, just horrible. And, my sister, she was already trying to come and find me. Like, my sister was putting together teams to fly to Los Angeles to come look for me on Skid Row. And so, like, it just was bad. So, and because I was so embarrassed, I had cut communication with them. But in that moment of, being beat up and strangled, I dashed out the door and I already like I'm going towards Greyhound, and I called my mother like, "Ma, I need to come home. Like
Mm.
please save me. Like I need to come home." And she was like, "Go to Greyhound." And I was like, "I'm already on my way." And they paid for my ticket, and I went home. And again, still, some stuff. Didn't learn my lesson. Came to Jersey to meet up with my cousin again, who, you know, we had a situation in LA and, we
Right.
weren't talking. And so he called me, come to Jersey, let's fix our relationship. I come to Jersey, we're still getting high. We come to and we get into an argument,
Mm-hmm.
and I end up getting left in Philadelphia.
Right.
So within that getting left in Philadelphia, I didn't have a phone. My suitcase was in his trunk. So I'm homeless in Philadelphia now, roaming. I don't know where
Mm.
I am. I never been here. So I'm just roaming and came across a homeless shelter. And, they took me in. And within a homeless shelter, there's this man there. And, he's ministering to people, telling people his testimony. And, I'm listening, but at this point, I had walked away from God. I didn't want nothing to do with God.
Right.
And, so, I hear him. And, I kind of gave him my story, told him about my family, sister minister, mom minister. And, but that was it. But I would go to Love Park on Sunday because they would be feeding the homeless people. And the Chosen 300, it's a church here in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And they were out there ministering and
the pastor, he was just, going in, and
Mm-hmm.
he starts saying like, God is calling you back, and, stuff like that. And um, I just feel it. I feel
Right.
it in me. And I said, I hear God, like, just go to the altar. And I'm like, I'm crazy. There's no way that God is talking to me
Mm-hmm.
after everything that I've done, and I didn't start worshiping other gods. There's no way he's allowing me back. And I feel it again. So I go to the altar, and, just, I just start crying because I can't believe, you know, that God is showing me this grace again.
Right.
And, in that moment, that's when, everything kind of changed for me.
Mm.
Because I had used drugs so much, like I couldn't even speak clearly. Like,
Mm.
my words just was so broken. My mind just, wasn't my mind.
Right.
Like I began to, like, hear the voices and stuff like that. Um, so I did. I went to the altar and just broke down and cried out, and, they prayed for me. I went back to the homeless shelter, and the guy who was ministering to me, I went to him, and he told me about this place called Victory Outreach,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a Christian based recovery home.
Mm.
Um, Here in Philadelphia, and they're worldwide. They're on all 6 continents, but they're all over the United States. And mind you, this is, it's still the pandemic. Everything is shut down.
Right.
So the first time, he told me, he called the pastor, Pastor Joey, and he didn't get an answer, so he left a voicemail. The second time he called, Sister Natalie picked up the phone, which is Pastor Joey's wife,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave me the number to the Victory Home, and they opened it up and let me come in.
Wow.
And that's when everything changed for me. And I just went in, and everybody, when I first got there, they
Mm-hmm.
were, I was in, my fitted jeans, very flamboyant,
Right.
very dress flamboyant.
Yeah.
So they're like, that's not allowed in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm like, I know where I'm at. Like,
Exactly.
I'm here. I'm here for help. I'm here to
Yeah.
get off these drugs. Like, I'm
Exactly.
not worried about sleeping with no man. Like, are you gonna help me?
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, point me in a direction where I can get the help.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, that happened, and they took me in, and they they showed me a different way. They loved on me. God loved on me, and I went there with nothing, and they just, it was great. Like, the brothers was like giving me their shoes and their
Yeah.
clothes, and, you hungry? I love you. Like,
Right.
God loves you. And, like, it was great. It was just what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
um I rebuilt my relationship with Jesus. I got the help that I needed. And I became drug free. I got delivered from drugs, and,
Yeah.
that was what, 2 years ago. And I'm
Right.
still, like, have not used a drug. I don't want to use a drug.
Man,
My
that's so
mindset is different. I'm able to speak clearly again. I'm able to think clearly again. And just being part of that Victory Outreach, once I got better, like, I was able to go back out and help, other people struggling with drugs
mm,
by telling them my story and showing them my scars. Like, you're not alone. Like,
right,
we've overcome, where you're at. Like,
right.
there's a place for you, like, to get the help, and we're not judging you because we
Exactly.
were you. just a few months, I was you. I was out here.
Right.
So it's just, it's a beautiful thing, and I'm just thankful for that. I'm really thankful for that. And, I'm just, happy to continue on and, giving people the grace and the love that God gave to me, continue to tell people, my testimony, my story,
Right.
to help them. And I openly, like, people call me all the time, like, Robert, how'd you do it? Robbie, how'd you do it? And, I'm open. I'm transparent with them. I don't hold nothing back,
Yeah.
because I have to, so they understand, they get it.
Yeah. And it's you said something, so profound, like you don't hold anything back. Let me tell you, just listening to your story and everything that you have been through, I'm like touched. It's just like to go from this place to this place, to this relationship, to back to your family, and then get to another place, and then you go back here, and then it comes back to this, and then it's another relationship, and then bottom falls out of bottom, and it's bad again, and then it's worse, and then it gets worst,
Right.
and then you start to rebuild yourself, and the relationship that you have with your higher power, outweighs religion, because gay people are condemned to
Absolutely.
hell as it pertains, to the Bible. But,
Right.
I really feel like your higher power, the God that you serve, and what you choose to believe in, can't nobody tell you how to,
Right.
communicate with your higher power. And so,
Right.
using that and being able to, say, what, listen, I need help, and go and get the help, and the help be effective, it shows a lot about your character. It speaks volumes of the type of man that you are, because a lot of people just won't admit, like, hey, I need fucking help with this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And because I need help with it and I know I can't do it on my own, I'm going to seek somebody that can fucking help me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, I know we are mixing God within this conversation. God
It's
made
okay.
me too, so he know I cuss. So, I just have to say that your healing, and healing is something that consistently happens when there's any type of sickness or any type of off balance or any type of addiction. A healing is an everyday journey.
It's every
You're
day.
healing every day. Absolutely. We have to take it day by day. Where is Robbie Moon, Robert Wachter now mentally? Like, what are some things, if you could go back and talk to yourself when you were on Skid Row, that young man that was raped at 15 years old by a stranger, you know what I'm saying? That kid that was misunderstood. If you could go back and encourage yourself, what would you say to yourself, your young self, your teenage self, yourself, that, disagreed with your mother and had to go out in the streets at 15, 16 years old, and but you started prostitution? If you could go back and talk to yourself, what would you tell yourself in that moment before life started transitioning?
What would I tell myself? Number one, listen to your mother.
Right. Mother knows best. I tell you
Right.
that.
Listen. I would definitely tell myself to listen to my mother. She really had my best interest at heart. Um, and number two, just I would advise myself to just, pay attention to detail, pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to the people, because everybody who came along and said that they was there, that they loved you, that they wanted to build with you, like, that's not their intentions. Like, just to be more careful,
Yeah.
like, who you give your all to and who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
That's what I would tell myself, and just to be wise. Always have a backup plan.
Right.
Don't just put everything in one basket. Because there's a chance that everything's not going to work out the way you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I would be tell myself to be very cautious.
Right.
Just the way that my life went, and
Yeah.
for me, just to trust in your intuition, and
Excellent.
believe in your God. Because he is with you and he's guiding you. Like, just really listen.
Wow. Robbie Moon, Robert Wachter, let me tell you something. Thank you so much for just being fully transparent and this amazing, amazing interview. And, I'm so blessed to have had the opportunity to speak to you today and to share your story, with the world, because everyone needs to hear this. And we will be,
Right.
consistently and constantly in prayer with you for your continued healing and,
Thank you.
your wisdom and, for God to order your footsteps and navigate and help you
Yeah.
navigate in this, thing that we call life. Because we ain't got no fucking book for this shit. We just have to take it day by day and do the best that we can. And
Right.
man, I commend you on just being so brave, your courage, and definitely sharing some insight on what it feels like to be, booted out of your family because of what your sexuality is and have to depend on the streets to help raise you, and then getting in relationships that don't mean you any well, and struggling with substance abuse and then coming out of it and actually healing.
Right.
So thank
But
you so much.
can I just say one more thing?
Absolutely.
Therapy works. Get a therapist. Get a psychiatrist.
That's right. That's right. You heard it from the man himself, Robbie Moon, Robert Wachter. Therapy fucking works, okay? Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's, put everything out on the table. That way, we can figure out as a world, I feel like the world would be a much better place if we focused on everybody's healing. My healing don't look like your healing. And it may never look like your healing. And your healing doesn't look like mine. So I really feel like once we figure out what people are actually suffering from, we can focus on the healing. So, man, thank you so much for this amazing interview.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing you on your journey, man. And you will always be a family member of Lyric Listen. You're my first guest ever. So I appreciate this. This has been an awesome ride, man.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll be talking to you soon. And we'll drop all of your social media information in. That way people can follow your journey as well and continue to be encouraged. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You take care.